Welcome to weekly update number 1 for Cards and Capital. We're going to be getting into the poker side of things and the investment side. We've got some news about VICI Properties, one of the companies we're invested in, and it's positive news. So we'll get into that shortly. Really quick, as far as poker goes, I haven't played this week. I play tomorrow. So as of right now, it is Thursday night, but we'll at least give you the update from Monday through Thursday night. All right, let's get into the episode and talk about a couple of things. First of all, today was a great day. A huge shout out to my friends Titus and Tawny Ledger. You guys are the coolest. They watched our kids today so my wife and I could have a date day. We went out and played some disc golf, which we're both absolutely terrible at Farragut State Park. And then we got on some of the, what are they called? The float board things, whatever, the paddle boards. And we went out and just floated around Lake Pend Oreille and did some exploring. Tons of fun. Got some sun and some water. Great day. Super relaxing. Nice to reconnect and have some time together. Let's talk about what the week looked like as far as the markets went. So Monday here, we had a balance of $8,179.44. We end the week up about $51 at $8,230.59. So let's go ahead and talk about VICI Properties. So they had some good news that came out this week. Before we talk about that news, let's talk about what is VICI and why are we invested in it. These are casino properties that they own. They do own a few golf courses, but for the most part, they own a lot of investment here on the Strip, and I'll zoom in on this really quick. So they own a lot of the Luxor, Excalibur, the Mirage, Las Vegas, New York, Harrah's, Las Vegas. So they own some of the MGM properties. They own some of the Caesars properties. But basically, they are invested heavily there. And then they've got a bunch of stuff, a lot of the Harrah's especially, across the middle and the east side of the country. And then they do own a little bit into Canada here. These are all properties that I think are going to they're not going anywhere. This is a company that has good free cash flow because the casino business is not a business that's like dying or going away. I don't think this is recession proof, which is, they may be hurt by a recession, which is one of the like key drawbacks to this company. There's two key drawbacks. I would say this is one of the least recession-proof companies that I own, and it's also we'll get into some of the stats here. Let me show you some of the financials on VICI and why I like them. So first, let's start out with just the overall price trend. Now, if you were to look at this price trend, you're going to see this huge drop in 2020. That's COVID. That makes a lot of sense. But if you go back to 2017 and you were to just snap some trend lines here, you're going to see that basically we're bouncing off of a trend line that just rolls through right here and is continuing up. It hasn't really broken. And on the top side, you could paint a similar line and see that it's really just trading in this upward momentum, which is really positive. And it's not we're not seeing a ton of price growth. We are seeing it, but just not huge price growth. But one of the things we are seeing that's really, really positive here, revenues way up. So even from last year, 1.5 to 2.6 this year, and you can just see that steady growth here in that revenue. That's always a really good sign to see. And this is one of the things I like the most here. This is the free cash flow minus the stock-based compensation, and you can see that they're really barely giving out any stock to pay employees, which is really positive. So that's not a lot of like dilution of shares. And what we are seeing is this strong trend in the free cash flow. So last year, almost $2 billion free cash flow. I really like this. Anytime I'm looking at a company, I want to see dividend growth. That's something we want in our portfolio. And I think you're just going to see, this is 5 years ago, they were at 16 cents per quarter. Now we're already at 39 cents per quarter. So really strong dividend growth, averaging about a 3-cent increase every year. Really positive. Really like to see that. This is the one of the bigger drawbacks of this company. One of the things that maybe is, again, the second part that makes me a little bit nervous. Just the dilution of shares. It's been somewhat constant through here, but over the last few years, just spiking a little bit. This is not really what you want to see. That means that they're basically allowing the price to stay more stable and using that to pay for a lot of their expenses. So don't love to see that trend. That's maybe one of the only big negatives in my mind. And the expenses relative to the income, they've got about, if we open this up here and blow this up in 2022, got about $50 million total here in expenses. That's nothing compared to the $2 billion, so we're not too worried about that. All right, so on the week, as far as what VICI did, you can see that we started the week. This is a week trend, but 31.51, and we are now at 32.71. So we've seen a lot of increase there, about 4%, which is pretty positive. And that's really coming off of some good news about a partnership that was just established. Let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so I'm not going to get way into this article, but basically what's happening now is that Marriott members are now going to be able to use their loyalty points at MGM properties. Now, when we look through the portfolio there, you can see VICI owns a bunch of these Las Vegas MGM properties, and therefore they're most likely going to see an influx of additional customers that they wouldn't have seen otherwise, and that's going to be positive for the brand, right? Positive for the company. So getting some good news there, trending up. We really like to see that. We're going to hope that that increases revenue and free cash flow. And if that is the case, we're going to see that stock continue to rise over time. Hopefully the dividend goes up with it. And this is just overall good news for the portfolio. Now, as of right now, VICI only makes up 2% of my portfolio. So it's not an enormous amount of what I own, but hey, this is positive news. And again, this is a company that I've been excited about, had in the portfolio for a shorter period of time, but overall, I'm pretty happy to hold this one for quite a while. And I think as long as they can continue to maintain that strong dividend and maintain strong earnings, I'm not going anywhere with this company. I like it, and I like how it's positioned overall. I think it's going to do well over the coming years, unless we see like some really, really insane downswing in the economy, which again, it is possible. I would say this is probably the most susceptible out of anything in the portfolio. So we've got our first company that I'm telling you about, and it's related somehow to poker. We got poker coming up this week, so I will keep you posted. By next week, I'll have all kinds of news for you. Where's the bankroll at? Where's the account at? What's going on? What are we investing in? All that's coming your way by next week. If you play, hope it goes well for you at the tables, and I will talk to you again in the week.